Hello, I'm Rob Crimmins. I'd like to tell you about a project that I helped with in Norfolk, Virginia recently. It's a good case study for the work that I do, which is to write statements of work and specifications for projects to restore commercial building facades. After writing the scope of work and supervising the completion of the sealant restoration contract on one commercial place, the tallest building in Virginia in 1965 when it was built, I was hired by the same project manager to specify and write the scope of work for two commercial places across the street. Two Commercial Place is a 10-story office building attached to the Norfolk Southern Tower. It's a cast-in-place concrete structure built in 1975. Although sealant restoration is a regular maintenance item for all commercial buildings, there are conditions at Two Commercial Place that make sealants and waterproofing more critical than at some other buildings. First, its location makes it more vulnerable to wind-driven rain during intense storms than buildings further inland. And second, its design includes few features such as recesses, overhangs, or drip edges to carry water off the surface and away from the joints. To make matters worse, previous sealant restoration work had been neglected, and in some cases poorly done. The building leaked. Another significant problem was the condition of the vision glass. Other than window cleaning, nothing had been done for many years to deal with the minerals that had been leaching out of the concrete and running over the outside of the windows and the window frames. The glass and the frames were badly stained, and in many places they were etched. The owner, through the property manager, had hired an architectural firm to compile a report and estimate the cost of restoring the building envelopes of both one and two Commercial Place. Their conclusion was that the work to both buildings would require millions of dollars, and the glass in Two Commercial Place had to be replaced, which would cost nearly a quarter of their total estimate. There were three goals for the project that I was hired to define for the work at Two Commercial Place. First was to stop the leaks. The second was to stop the leaching of salts and minerals that were damaging the glass. And third was to restore the damaged vision glass. The owners had resigned themselves to the fact that the vision glass was ruined, so they weren't expecting a solution to that problem. To them, one of the values their building previously had, views of the harbor and the skyline, was simply lost. Because not only was the cost prohibitive, but the disruption to the tenant's operations that replacing the glass would create was unacceptable. However, I specified a process that restored the glass to virtually its original quality and sealed it at a cost of about 1/10 the amount that the architect said was needed, for the same result, with no disruption to the tenants. All the work was done on the outside. The building had been painted many years before, but that coating had long since become ineffective. To prevent damaging the glass and frames again, we applied a silicone material over the entire building to not only seal it, but to make it one of the most distinctive structures in the Norfolk skyline. Those three goals were accomplished in large part because the scope of work was a complete, detailed, and unambiguous description of all the work. Of course, the first thing I call on when establishing what a building needs is experience. Mine goes back to 1973 when I was a window cleaner. Since then, I've worked in the construction trades as an ironworker, painter, and journeyman caulker. My professional and management roles have been as a construction manager, a restoration firm operations manager, and the president of Rodney Square Building Restorations Incorporated of Wilmington, Delaware. Between those positions, I was a project and design engineer in the aerospace industry. Precast or cast-in-place concrete buildings for which I've written restoration plans in the past include both buildings at Park Center in Alexandria, Virginia, Ace Insurance in Wilmington, Delaware, One Plymouth Meeting in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, 70 Batterson Park in Farmington, Connecticut, and the MetLife Building in Wilmington, and others. So I've helped restore or maintain a lot of concrete panels and the joints around them. At Two Commercial Place, I specified 3 different silicone sealants for all the joints in the vertical surfaces, the joints between glass panels, and for the wet seals. The stone stairs and marble walls at the entrance were done with non-sag, single-component polyurethane sealant, and one joint between building sections, which was too wide for sealant, was closed with a manufactured joint. Competent execution is vital, and the steps that were taken to ensure that included verifying the specified materials and processes. Pre-construction tests are done, but I also require the contractor to conduct tests as the job is progressing. Dow, Pecora, Tremco, and the other manufacturers are emphatic about preparing the substrate and verifying that their products will adhere to them. So even though my experience led to selecting materials that proved to be good choices, I did the test to verify those selections. While the work is going on, I make regular announced and surprise site visits to perform tests and conduct inspections from the work platforms, not just from the roof or the ground. This is a very important step that is typically not done when building managers work directly with contractors. Much of the work the owner is paying for is off the ground, accessible only from swing stage scaffolds, aerial lifts, and bosun's chairs. Oversight by someone with the owner's interests in mind is prudent, to say the least. As someone who's spent years on the sides of buildings, I know how valuable oversight can be. On my jobs, I ride the board with the crews to see what they're doing on the upper floors and to ensure the owner's investment is well spent. We started with a leaking building and damaged glass. An architect had prepared an expensive report, but it wasn't a document that could serve as a basis for the contract. It wasn't a detailed statement of work. The owner and the project manager got exactly what they needed from me, and the result was outstanding. In the end, everyone from the owner to the contractor was satisfied, and a prominent feature of the Norfolk skyline was restored to perfection.